Hi, my name's Luke Norman. I'm the Executive Chairman at US Gold Corp. US Gold Corp, we're currently developing a gold and copper porphyry just outside of Cheyenne, Wyoming.
Luke, good to see you, sir. I was lucky enough to go and do a site visit after the Colorado Springs show about a month or so ago. What surprised me was the proximity to infrastructure.
It is the biggest standout about this project and about this company is exactly that, the location. You know, the old adage that's used by realtors, location, location, location. A deposit like this being 20 miles outside of a major resource hub. You know, people who are not familiar with Cheyenne, Wyoming, it's an hour and a half drive north of Denver, Colorado. It's right on the I-80 corridor with major rail, road, power networks all rolling through it. But most importantly, we have an entire resource hub community of prospective employees sitting there, and anything from large data centers to distribution outlet centers for the likes of Amazon are being built there currently. So just a huge workforce.
No, it was interesting to see. I saw all the infrastructure, literally standing on the hill, looking towards the rail, looking towards the power.
So the asset, as it stands currently, is a 1.7 million ounce gold equivalent reserve. So not a resource. This isn't a science test. But that reserve is constrained purely by the amount of drilling we were prepared to undertake at the time. We didn't want to actually expend too much resource chasing ounces to depth and laterally, when the next focus after we establish a reserve was to actually get permits. So something I failed in the property description to mention is we are a fully permitted shovel-ready project. So what that means is this 1.7 million ounces of reserve is ready to be mined, to be harvested. So we're just doing the final touches, of course, on a definitive feasibility, but the economics on the thing are outstanding, remarkable. You've got about an 80% gold economic, 20% copper economics right now, just because, of course, the gold price has surged so high. But ultimately, we're looking at, from our last study, our last report, about a $940 all-in sustaining cost, and using a baseline of around $2,400 gold at the time.
Right, and so the targeted annual production of what?
Oh, of course, sorry, 110,000 ounces of targeted annual production. That's a 10-year mine life currently under, again, that reserve, but we see a lot of upside to the resources extending below that reserve pit.
Okay, now obviously in a market, like say gold's on a tear, well over $4,000 at the moment. Money does seem available for those who can show that there's a near-term revenue opportunity here. So where are you? I know you're working through the DFS, but where are you with conversations?
We've had a lot of interest, clearly being one of the only projects that's fully permitted, ready to go. Even with the new administration in the US, permitting is still a purgatory, as I like to refer to it, in the US or in Canada. No matter where you want to go, it's very difficult. So having that permit in place has brought us a lot of attention. The fact that we're going to be generating a copper gold concentrate, because there is a lot of copper in this system, has led to a lot of interest from the off-takers. So there's been a term sheet presented to us from a debt component for building this project. But what we're doing right now is just really strengthening the whole economic case for the project, but also securing some of the real hard line items, such as putting in foundations for crushers. We just signed a power agreement very recently with Black Hills Energy, securing 7.2 cents kilowatt hour. And that's amortized with power right to the project. Let's take that into consideration. We're not running hundreds of kilometers of power to get to this project. So those processes, those steps right now are leading to a lot of interest from financiers, not just traditional bankers, but non-traditional sources of capital. So, stay tuned in that regard.
No, we were lucky enough to spend a bit of time with George B. He kind of took us through the core shed and on site.
Yeah, no kidding. What a seasoned veteran in terms of digging a hole and extracting gold. He cut his teeth building Gold Strike for Barrick. So you can imagine, that ultimately led to the Barrick we know today. So he's built some of the largest gold mines on the planet. So I think that's was key right from the onset when we decided to shift our focus over from exploration to development, that you need somebody who's got, real seasoned developer, because there was a lot of question marks around Wyoming. We're the first hard rock mine to be permitted in Wyoming in 100 years. Not because lack of trying, it's just the lack of deposits that exist there currently. So, George is he's the key person, he's the key man. It's anyone can go out and do my job and help raise capital for the company, but we have the best in terms of established mine builders and guys who know how to develop.
Right, and the other thing was, obviously we see this a lot in the US. Wyoming's a mining state for sure, but you still got to kind of take care of your neighbors and make sure everyone's up to speed with what you're doing. You brought some people on for that as well, haven't you?
Yeah, we did. Well, immediately, because my accent out of New Zealand, a little bit muddled up now, 30 years in North America, and George's accent, of course, out of York, your part of the world. We felt that maybe we would need a buffer zone in Wyoming, so we brought in very early on Jason Beggar, who's our in-state specialist, who helps us deal with all social licensing issues.
Hi, I'm Jason Beggar. I am a Cheyenne, Wyoming-based consultant, helping the project out primarily with community, government affairs, external affairs, kind of everything to, really take the temperature of the project to the community to help kind of manage the process and move this thing from concept into production and reality. So got a nice sunny day here out at the site, and you can kind of look around to see, and this is really a great vantage point to understand the benefits of this particular project. Over here to the kind of the southeast, you can see the wind towers that are directly connected into the power lines that would serve the site, to kind of show how close we are. Immediately behind me, about 4 miles behind me, is the Union Pacific rail line. And then about 7 miles to the kind of be the northeast here is the Burlington Northern BNSF rail line. So we have a lot of infrastructure nearby. Directly in front of me, kind of over this hill, is our water supply, the Crystal Reservoir. So we're kind of in the middle of everything that we need to do to make this project a reality. And the best thing is we're only about 20 minutes from town. If you kind of look straight off to the east there, you can grab a cup of coffee, get out to the site, and coffee's still warm. So really ideally positioned. Another thing you may notice behind me is you don't see a lot of houses. You see some houses kind of at a distance, but the benefit of that is the prevailing winds are kind of in my face going that way. So when the wind does blow and we do have weather, any of the noise from the site and any potential dust is moving away from, where people live and recreate and those types of things. So, a really important part of this project is that community local buy-in, that social capital, and that license to operate. And so we while, in this direction, not a lot of houses, kind of over this direction, there are some folks nearby. And so it was really important to meet with them often, regularly, early, to understand their concerns, the things that we can do to make this thing work. Understand that, hey, a lot of their concerns weren't necessarily with a mine itself. It was our water. If you're going to make a pit, you're going to be doing things, what could that do to our water wells? And so the extensive hydrology that was done and drilling that was done to demonstrate that it's not going to impact them at all, people were honestly really okay with it. So as we went through the permitting process, there were 5 major permits what we needed. Our industrial siting permit, our land quality permit, air, water, and then county planning. And all of them have a public comment period. You've got to do some open houses, do those things. And through the groundwork that we had done prior to those permit meetings, what we found is really minimal public opposition. And I wouldn't even say we had opposition. We had a couple of people raise some various concerns about various aspects, but they were more technical in nature. Like, for example, what's going to happen to our water, or what about dust or noise? Those are solvable engineering challenges, not any sort of physical or philosophical opposition to mining. And That's for a lot of reasons. One is Wyoming is a natural resource state. The vast majority of tax revenue does come from, coal mining, trona, oil and gas, those types of things. So while hard rock mining is new or newer to this generation, it's been many decades since the state has had a hard rock mine. People are generally understanding of industry and those types of things, and they're just really demanding that it's done right in the right way. And so, George and Kevin and the technical team, with their experience, were really able to come in and provide some reassurance about best practices and, hey, we've done this, and these are the types of things that you do. And so by the time that we got to the permitting phase, people were pretty comfortable. And then another two big aspects of the fact that, there isn't any leaching and there is no tailings dam. You took the two biggest hot button issues that really sort of riles up the NGOs and the general public, to the point where people are like, well, this is just kind of a quarry with some back end processing. There's no smelter, so there's not going to be any stack emissions. It's a really simple, clean mining project. And that really was reflected in the great public support that we've had for the project.
And since then, we have the past governor, David Friedenthal, who is, again, works with us as well directly. We really wanted to establish a good foothold within the community so that people could understand exactly what we're going in to do there. And funnily enough, you having been there, Matthew, just to our south is a $40 billion materials company, Martin Marietta, right on the I-80 highway there. It's the exact same mining method, essentially. They're going in, it's an open pit, and they're harvesting, granodiorite and just selling it as aggregate into the Colorado Basin and out to California and the Western Seaboard. Well, ours is not much different, other than we run it through, we crush ours and grind ours down a lot finer, and we run it through a recovery plant to get those metals out. But there's no smokestacks or any of that. So we needed the community to understand that it's not a heavily impactful type of mining. We're coming in, we're essentially establishing a quarry, and we're moving materials off-site to be smelted.
Because it's a previous producing site.
Yeah. Well, exactly. A previously producing site, as in it did produce copper and gold some 100 years ago, was of course discovered when they were running rail east-west. So the deposit itself, it's part of an old mining district called the Silver Crown Mining District, and Heckler were in there 110 years ago mining copper and gold ores. Of course, they stole the richest of richest grades back then, because the demand was not as great as it is these days, and it was a very plentiful kind of source of running rail and finding discoveries. So.
Well, I think, like I say, maybe we can get together and get a little bit more technical with George and maybe some of his team next time round.